that the units were not maintained to the extent that they should have been. Now, this is before Katrina. You know, after Katrina, it's a different situation, but I just think that as a city, we have got to do a better job in making sure that multifamily housing and people who own apartment complexes properly maintain them.
Thank you very much.
Can I do 30 seconds?
Yes.
Okay. Also, we have a number of issues with people who have homes in neighborhoods. And it really bothers me because those people once called us neighbors. And what they did was they had a home here, but then they went and bought a house somewhere else, maybe in another city or another state. But they have this home here and they're allowing more subsidized housing to come into that neighborhood, and it's bringing down the quality of life in that neighborhood. As the council person, I'm gonna work very closely with HUD to make sure that code enforcement is in place so that they just aren't allowed to leave those properties linger.
Thank you very much, and I'm sure everyone here will agree that every person is entitled to a decent place to live. Everyone. Other questions in the area of economic development from our panelists?
What are your plans for increasing and expanding transportation for the District East?
Well, we need
TIF. This bill was designed to facilitate the redevelopment of the Lake Forest Plaza Mall. It took about 6 or 7 years for the leadership, the current leadership in New Orleans East, to hold their first meeting on that process. First meeting. And that just happened about 2 or 3 years ago, 2 or 3 months ago. And when it happened, there was a division between the elected leadership as to who voted for what on the particular bill. We have got to work diligently to bring the Lake Forest Plaza Mall back to New Orleans East. That is going to bring shopping back. We've got to work very, very hard to bring the retail back to that Bullet shopping area where you had Big Lots and Children's Palace and Circuit City and those kinds of things. We've got to work to bring them back. We've also got to work to make sure, and I will do this, ladies and gentlemen, I will do this, and I'm asking you to hold my feet to the fire to make sure I get it done. We've got to bring Methodist Hospital back. Good paying jobs, great economic generator, a great economic development engine for New Orleans East, good paying jobs, doctors, nurses, medical personnel. The leadership in that community has got to see the value of bringing that facility back and bringing it back quickly.
Thank you very much.
Well,
are there any, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm glad that Mr. Johnson was listening at the other forums that we've been to, because I've been talking about the economic engine of the hospital. I have a vision for that area. I don't know if any of you have seen Perkins Row in Baton Rouge. That's something that I want to do in East New Orleans, specifically around the hospital. Use the hospital as a hub. Have retail, have residential areas, and all of the other finer things in life, restaurants, movie theaters, all in that one facility. Because I believe that we should start looking at self-sustained communities. And that's what they have in Baton Rouge. You live, you work, your children go to school. We have a school right there. We have a park across the street. There's a church right there. So everything could be sustained in that community where you don't have to even go uptown or go downtown to go to work. You know, when I lived in Houston, you lived on one side of the city. You didn't even have to go on the other side. And so that's something that I want to do. But what I'm very concerned also about is the NASA Michoud facility, which employed thousands of people in the greater metropolitan area. The space shuttle program is coming to a close. We have to do everything possible, and I am going to use the bully pulpit to get them, I'm sorry?
I think someone asked the question, can you extend it?
Can they extend the shuttle program?
We're not taking no questions.
No, that's a federal initiative, and we're not taking questions from the audience right now. I apologize for that.
Well, just to personally answer that, I would say yes, I would extend it. But we have to give them a brand new contract for whether it's aerospace or some other kind of diversity to be able to keep that going on. Thanks.
I have a rebuttal.
A rebuttal by
Yeah,
Mr. Johnson,
yes.
30 seconds.
Let me just say, Austin, when are you going to start doing it? I mean, you know, it's been almost 5 years since Katrina. You want to do it? When are you going to start doing it? Number one, and secondly, you have been taking the position that we should have some other kind of medical facility other than a hospital there.
That's not right. That's
That
not
clouds
true.
the issue.
That's not true.
You
That's
talked
not
about
true.
some kind of urgent care, emergency facility or something of that nature instead of a hospital.
Now you're coming up with bold-faced lies. Now let me tell you, let me tell you about that.
30 seconds.
As I stated when I first came in, I said I am in favor of a full-service state-of-the-art hospital. In the meantime, we need to do whatever we can to bring healthcare to an area that is sorely needed, and this company, Ochsner, wants to come in and do a 24-hour emergency room, and they want to do it right now and bring doctors and nurses right here, and that emergency room could possibly save your life or my life if we have a stroke or a heart attack. But my main focus is a full-service hospital.
Thank you very much. We have, in discussing economic development, we have already discussed somewhat the issue of housing, but right now we do have a few more questions for our guests regarding both housing and the development of housing in District E and your plans as councilman. Panel?
Current building policies and the overall landscape of home ownership has drastically changed post-Katrina. What will you do to enhance the ownership opportunities for District E voters?
Mr. Johnson.
I think one of the things, well, first of all, we had a very, very devastating blow during the administration of the previous governor who did this road home program. And of course the legislature, Austin Badon and members of the legislature approved the worst piece of legislation that has ever come out of the state legislature is the road home program. Bad, bad legislation, and especially for District E, especially for poor people, especially for minority people. I think what we have got to do is make sure that the city and the state continue to supplement through grants and low-interest loans and no-interest loans to those individuals who need assistance in coming back into their homes. We know that in many, many cases, the road home grant was not enough money for people to get back into their homes. They might have gotten $50,000, $60,000 and they needed $100,000 or $125,000 in order to get back into their homes. I think the city can come up with a program that will assist those individuals who didn't get what they should have gotten for the value of their homes to get them back in the community where they belong.
Thank you very much, Mr. Badon.
Let me tell you about this individual. He leans over and he tells me I better watch my mouth.
You call me a liar.
I don't know if that was
You call me a
threat
liar
or
and
what.
you
I don't
should
know
not
if that's
have
a
done
threat
it.
or what. But that's the kind of
Yeah.
individual.
But I've never called you a
Mr.
liar.
Badon has the mic.
That's the kind of individual that is trying to be a councilman, an elected official, trying to be an elected official that is basically making threats. Now, the question,
Mr. Badon has the mic.
I have the mic.
Mr. Badon called me a liar and I told him to watch his mouth.
Mr.
Don't-
Johnson,
don't-
you will
don't-
have an opportunity when you rebut.
Don't call me a liar.
But yet, at every question, he wants to call my name, and just earlier...
You can call my name, don't call me a
Just earlier,
liar.
he spoke about a record, and everything is open for discussion. The city needs to come up with a plan to address housing. The city needs to come up with a plan that will